Happy Monday and welcome to my channel. I've noticed that I've had some new subscribers come on board, so in this video and in the future I want to make sure that I'm introducing myself in case you have no idea who I am or you just joined. So my name is Kristen Martin. I am a young adult science fiction and fantasy author living in Texas. I currently have 3 novels published. They are a trilogy. It's a dystopian trilogy called The Alpha Drive. And this year, on October 3rd, I will actually be releasing my new series, which is a young adult dark fantasy series called Shadow Crown. I also run a business called That Smart Hustle where I give webinar seminars and I also do podcasts. And on top of all of that, I do have a full-time job in the corporate world. I made this channel to offer writing advice to aspiring authors, as well as how to manage your time, as well as just be a boss in every area of your life. I'll talk more about my books as well as my webinars and my podcast at the end of this video, so make sure you stay tuned. But I also do have some really fun announcements, again, that will be at the end of this video on how you can possibly win an ARC, which is an advanced reader's copy of my newest book, Shadow Crown, which is due out on October 3rd. And I also have some information on price promotions for my ebooks for the Alpha Drive trilogy. So again, just make sure you stay tuned to the end of this video so you can get all of that information. Also, I hope the lighting is not too bothersome. I am using natural lighting in this video, so there's a lot of clouds outside today, so the sun's kind of going in and out of the clouds. Hopefully that doesn't bother you too much. We shall see how it goes. So I've been getting so many questions lately on one specific topic, and I thought to myself, I'm just gonna make a video on it. And that is my outlining process. I actually have a 5-stage outlining process, and I think I've kind of touched on it here and there in some of my videos, but I haven't really gone into full detail and depth as to what my actual outlining process is. So I'm going to do the best that I can to explain that to you, and maybe something, you know, it'll trigger something for you that you haven't done that you would like to try, or maybe something that'll work for you, or maybe it won't work for you at all and you'll think I'm crazy. So whatever the case may be, hopefully this gives you just some more insight as to how I actually take my ideas and put them into a comprehensive format, which is my outline. Okay, so the first thing that you should know about me is that I am not necessarily a plotter or a pantser. I fall somewhere right in between, and I actually coined the term plotzer because it's in between a pantser and a plotter. So I think that I'm a plotzer because I like to have some idea as to where my story is going to go. I'm not one of those people who can just sit down and start writing, just flying by the seat of my pants, which is a pantser. But I'm also not someone who needs to have a super detailed outline before I begin writing. So I was like that when I wrote my first book, and I do recommend outlines when you write your first book, or your first series for that matter. But as you start to get more comfortable with your writing style and kind of the flow, and you really get into your own groove and rhythm, you just start to learn what works best for you. And for me, I like to have my ideas, and I have a very basic outline. It is not detailed at all. Again, this is before I write the draft. After I've written the draft, I have a very detailed outline, and I'll explain why I do that as well. But yes, in the beginning, it's just a very basic outline. So I pretty much have my beginning, middle, and end. And then I have some scenes maybe thrown in there every here and there, but by no means do I have every scene or act completely written out and outlined and figured out before I write. Honestly, I feel like that kind of takes the fun out of writing. So this is why I call myself a plotzer, because I do plot a little bit, but a lot of the time when I'm writing, I just have such a basic outline that I can really add in and create and just imagine whatever I want and really write my story and kind of pants through it. So yes, I would consider myself a plotzer. Hopefully that makes sense. I really do feel like I fall somewhere in between. And so if you are also like that, then maybe this method will work for you. If you are someone who is a pantser, then I don't know why you're watching this video, because obviously you probably don't outline. And if you're a plotter, this video may kind of help you loosen the reins a little bit, or you may think it's too hands-off, where you really just want to have your concrete outline all laid out before you sit down to write. And there is no right or wrong way to do this. There's no right or wrong answer. It's not that pantsers are better than plotters and vice versa. You really can't compare the two because it's whatever works best for you and your writing style. Okay, so let's get started with my 5-stage outlining process. So the first thing I do is a major brain dump of all the story ideas that I have in a notebook or I do it on the notes function in my phone. I do have a video on how to come up with story ideas. I will make sure to leave that link down below. That is not what this video is about, so I'm not going to get into how I brainstorm and how I get ideas for my stories. If you want to learn more about that, again, you can click on the link in the description box below and go watch that video. As a writer, I have a lot of ideas, and I can't tell you exactly where they come from. They just will kind of appear. I'll be watching a TV show or reading a book or looking at a magazine or going for a walk, and I'll just, ideas, they'll just come to me, and I'll kind of just think about them more and more, and I'll kind of play the what if game, like, what if this happens? What if this were to happen? What if this were to happen? And it just kind of evolves into more of a story idea. So the ideas are very vague in the beginning, and I just make sure I write them down in my notebook or in the notes function on my phone. What I tend to do is write everything down because I always have my phone with me. And while normally I have a notebook with me, if I'm going for a walk, I don't take my notebook with me, but I always have my phone. So I will make sure I jot the idea down in the notes function on my phone. And then when I get back to my house or get back to wherever I have my notebook, that's when I will actually sit down and write my ideas in a notebook. And usually this isn't a brain dump of all my ideas for one book. It's for multiple books or for, the next book in the series. So they just kind of come at random. But the most important thing I do, especially when I'm about to outline, is to make sure I write down all of my ideas, any character ideas, scene ideas, chapter ideas, anything that comes to mind, I write all of it down. Because I will tell you, if I don't write it down that second, an hour will go by and I will not remember what I had thought of. It'll just be completely gone. So that's one really key tip as a writer, is when you have a story idea, even if it's not fully fleshed out, even if it's in the very beginning stages, make sure to write it down somewhere, because I promise you it will just fly away so quickly and you may not ever find it again. The second thing I do is something I like to call the poster board method. So I like to take a really large piece of paper or poster board or whatever I have lying around the house. I'll divide that poster board up by drawing 2 lines. So I'll have 2 lines, and then I'll label each section Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. And the way my brain works, or my writing process works, is I tend to know the ending before I know anything else. So I will start with Act 3 and I will write down how the book is going to end, or how I kind of imagine it to end, or what sort of theme or feelings I want to draw out of the reader for that specific book. So I will write down any sort of ideas or characters, conflict, or the resolution is normally what's happening in Act 3. I'll kind of write down what I think that's going to be. It could potentially change. So I'll write that down in Act 3, and I kind of like to work backwards. So I'll write down all my ideas that I think would fit in Act 3, so things that would kind of lead up to that resolution. And then obviously those will kind of be carried into Act 2, so you'll have more things and more foreshadowing and plot twists that are happening in Act 2 that'll kind of bring you to that resolution. And then the last thing I work on is the beginning. So the beginning for me is always somewhat difficult, especially if it's a brand new book. If it's a series, it's somewhat easy because you can kind of pick up where you left off. But for a brand new book, I feel like the beginning or the opening is pretty difficult to write. So I'll write down any ideas I have in Act 1 for the opening of my book. Sometimes I don't have any, I'm going to be completely honest, and that's where the pantser in me comes out, and I will just sit down and start writing and just see what flows from my fingertips. So that's the poster board method. The third thing I do is I use index cards. So I'll take everything that I wrote down on my poster board in Acts 1, 2, and 3, and I'll write down each scene, or I guess you could say idea, on index cards. And then I'll start to organize them a little bit more. So I'll put a little more detail if it comes to me, or if I have a new idea, I'll write it on the index card, and I'll start kind of placing them on the floor or just on a large table or desk, and just start moving them, moving them around to where I think they would fit. The reason why I do the poster board method, then the index card method, is because I need to have a sort of idea as to how my story is gonna flow. So I need to have an idea as to the beginning, middle, and end. And then I can take all of those ideas and everything I've written down from that poster board. I've noticed that those note cards tend to become more detailed. It's where I figure out the opening of my book, and I'll lay them out in the same style where it's kind of Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, but I tend to notice I have a lot more note cards and ideas than what I did on the poster board. So it's also a really great brainstorming session because you're really getting into the nitty-gritty of your book and all of the things that you want to have happen in your book. So I feel like the poster board method and index card method is sort of a form of brainstorming because you're getting really into just your whole book idea. So of course more ideas are going to come to you as you're writing things down the way you want them to happen. Once I have all the index cards laid out, I will actually go through and number them in that order. So, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll also put kind of A1, A2, A3, so I know if I had it in Act 1, Act 2, or Act 3. I'll also take a picture of it before I clean everything back up. And sometimes I won't always clean it back up. I will actually go post it on a poster board so I can see everything. But the problem I've noticed with this is that if I have more ideas that come along, then I already have everything kind of taped to the poster board. And yes, I can still move them around, but if my story is not completely finished yet, then I want to make sure I'm able to add index cards with new ideas into the story pretty seamlessly. So if you have a spare bedroom or something where you can leave all your note cards just laid out and you don't have to clean them up, then that's great. I personally like to have the note cards with me at all times so that no matter where I am, whether it's at work and then I go on my lunch break, I'll have my index cards and be able to flip through them and start working on things. But if you're someone that is home a lot or you work from home and you have a spare bedroom where you can just leave all of those index cards, you know, on the floor where you can see them in their order, then I would say do that. But if you're like me and you're on the go a lot, it's just nice to have those index cards with you at all times. Just make sure you number them so you know what order you have them in. So once I have my index cards, the fourth thing I'll do is actually go ahead and write the first chapter. So normally the whole story is really fresh in my mind, and even if I don't have ideas for the first chapter, I'll sit down and I'll just start to write, and I'll just kind of see what comes out of my fingertips, see what comes out of my brain. And you know, first drafts are for your eyes only, and you may cut that whole first chapter and rewrite it once you finish writing the book. But I found that when I have all of those ideas and my story fresh in my mind, it's really good to sit down and just try to write the first chapter. Once I've written that first chapter, then I will go to my outline document, which I keep in Word, and I will update that outline with the chapter. So I'll put chapter 1. If it's from a specific character's point of view, I will write whose point of view, and then I will write usually 1 to 2 paragraphs summarizing what I wrote in that chapter. And I don't obviously put everything in the outline, but I'll put things that are important for me to know, so that if I am somehow foreshadowing something in the 3rd chapter, then I'll know I need to include that event or whatever it is in a later chapter in the book. Doing this usually sparks ideas for the next couple of chapters, so I'll always have my index cards handy. I'll look through those. Like I said, I'll write the first chapter, then I'll update my outline, then I'll try writing the 2nd chapter, then update my outline with the chapter 2 information, and then do it for chapter 3, and so on and so on. So that kind of brings me to the 5th thing I do, which is that I fill in my outline as I go. Like I just said, once I finish writing chapter 1, then I will go straight to my outline to summarize chapter 1. Then I'll start writing chapter 2. Once I'm finished writing chapter 2, I'll go to my outline and I'll summarize that chapter. I do that for every single chapter. Now sometimes I get on a roll and I'll write 3 chapters, you know, in a couple of hours. I don't always update my outline immediately after I write a chapter, but once I am done with my actual writing session for the day, if I've written 3 chapters and I have not updated my outline, I will then take some time to update my outline, because if you don't do it right away, it will pile up. You'll tend to forget what you wrote, and that's really what my outline is for. It's notes for me so that I can remember what happened in each chapter and what I'm thinking about foreshadowing into the future. So a quick bonus tip is that I actually use colors. I use highlighting colors in my outline to help keep some things straight. So I'm going to go through those codes right now. I use the color yellow to highlight where I last left off in my manuscript, and I will highlight the chapter on my actual manuscript in yellow, and I will also highlight the chapter on my outline, so that way I can remember exactly where I was working on my document. For things that need to be added in later, so say I'm foreshadowing something, I will highlight that in green. Anything I highlight in orange is to kind of check my facts or just check for accuracy. Things I highlight in pink are character or setting details that need to be fleshed out a little bit more, so maybe I've created a new character while I'm writing, or a new setting, a new region or place, and I need to work those details out, so I will highlight that in pink and come back to it later. And then if I'm having a scene or a chapter that I'm having a really hard time writing, or I'm just not feeling motivated to write it, I highlight those areas in blue. So that just reminds me to circle back and either write that chapter, write that paragraph, write that scene, whatever it may be. So I'll highlight certain sections in my manuscript with those respective colors, and I will also use the same highlighting tool in my outline. That way it's so much easier to reference. When I'm looking at my outline, I can easily just go to my manuscript, find the chapter, and then I can find the highlighted area and know exactly where I left off and what I need to fix. Okay, so that is it. That is my 5-stage outlining process. I would love to know how you guys outline, if you're plotters, pantsers, what you do to be successful when you're outlining or writing your story. So please leave some comments down below, because again, I would just love to know. If you like the content today, please give this video a thumbs up to support my channel. Okay, so now for a couple of announcements. Next Monday on August 21st, I will be doing a collaboration with the lovely Natalia Lee. So we will have a collab YouTube video. So make sure to keep an eye out for that. Also from today, Monday, August 14th through next Monday, August 21st, you can get the entire Alpha Drive Trilogy ebooks for only $6. There is a huge Kindle price promotion going on where you can get the Alpha Drive ebook for only 99 cents, the Order of Omega ebook for only $1.99, and the Restitution ebook for only $2.99. This price promotion is valid for the US and UK only. So if you've been wanting to read my books but you haven't had the funds, this is a great way to get all 3 of my books, the whole trilogy, for $6. Pretty good deal. And you don't have to have a physical Kindle to participate in the price promotion. You can actually download the Kindle app from the App Store or the Google Play Store, log into your Amazon account, buy the books, and you can read it right there on your phone, tablet, or whatever device you have. Okay, so let's talk about the Shadow Crown arcs and how you can win one. So if you've been out of the loop, I did launch a 3-part webinar series called Hustle Smarter, Not Harder. And along with that comes a 50-page workbook. I have had a tremendous response and so much support for this webinar. And to show my appreciation for those who have signed up for the Hustle Smarter, Not Harder webinar series, from that sign up list, I will actually pull 3 names at random, and those 3 people will win a signed arc of Shadow Crown. Again, this is to show my appreciation and my thanks for supporting me in my business ventures and everything that I'm working on. And in case you didn't know, I am also giving a certain percentage of the proceeds of this webinar series to a charity. In addition, if you sign up for the webinar and say you don't win one of the Shadow Crown arcs, I'm actually going to be giving all Hustle Smarter, Not Harder webinar participants a discount code for when the book actually does come out. So you will get $10 off an autographed paperback copy of Shadow Crown when it does come out on October 3rd. The last day to sign up for the webinar in order to be considered for a free arc or the $10 off coupon for Shadow Crown when it comes out is Thursday, August 31st. And that is also when the discount for the webinar series will end. So in my video on Monday, September 4th, I will be announcing those 3 arc winners, and I will also be sending the coupon code for $10 off a signed copy of Shadow Crown to the rest of the registrants. I will leave all of that information in the description box below in case you want to reread it and go over it. All 3 of my books in the Alpha Drive trilogy are available for purchase on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, as well as the Book Depository and Books A Million. And Shadow Crown is available for pre-order on Amazon right now. You can also order signed copies of my books for just a few dollars more than you would pay for them on Amazon. To order signed copies of my books and get more information, go to my website at KristenMartinBooks.com and click on the Buy Books tab on the menu bar. If you're a big fan of audiobooks, make sure you check out my affiliate link with Audible in the description box below. You will get a free audiobook download and a free 30-day trial for their service. In case you didn't know, I do offer some writerly services such as first chapter critiques and 30-minute and 60-minute Skype consultations. And if you are a teacher, educator, or librarian and you're looking for an author to come speak at your school or host a workshop, I do want you to know that I am now offering school visits. For more information on all of the services I offer, head on over to my website at KristenMartinBooks.com and click on the Services Offered tab as well as the School Visits tab. As I mentioned in the intro, I have started podcasting. You can find my podcast under the name That Smart Hustle. It is available to listen on iTunes and SoundCloud. If you're not already, make sure you're following me on social media such as Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat so you don't miss out on behind the scenes footage, price promotions for my books, and much more. And if you have any questions or think of a topic you would like for me to talk about in one of my next videos, feel free to leave a comment down below. You can also ask a question or post a comment anonymously on my Ask Me Anything page on Tumblr. Again, everything you want to know is in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I would love for you to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Don't forget, I post new writing advice videos on Mondays and personal day in the life vlogs every other Thursday. I will see you guys next time. Bye.